Okay, this should be a quick one, but good timing. It's cold. We're running the diesel heater, which is on the other side. You can kind of hear it. Low rumble. But this little box here is for the propane heater in the shed to home conversion. And it is simply a box with a vent at the bottom and one at the back for the hose to go through. When one tank is empty, all you need is a crescent wrench. And keep in mind, this is reverse thread on the line on this type where it's inside thread. So close off that one. Of course, I've already gone inside and I've turned off the heater because it ran out. This tank's empty. So reverse thread means go right to loosen and do the opposite for the other one. So that's all you got to do. We keep our extra tanks up there in the solar shed. So there's some empties and some fulls up in there, depending on which way it is. And just in case, I would remind you, don't be smoking when you do this, because propane, unlike diesel, is really highly flammable. I am probably guilty of refueling gas for generators while they're running, but very carefully and all that. But yeah, so don't do the propane while you're doing that, because that's not going to be good for anybody. But as you notice, the generator behind me, I just shut it off because we're just trying to get the cabin up to temperature. And you don't want to go too tight on those just until they stop turning. And the reason I shut the generator off is, one, so I could talk, two, so I could hear. Because as you open it slowly, you'll hear the gas flow a little, but then stop. And if you keep hearing gas flow, then you've got a leak. And you can also take some soapy water, but I have learned that if you listen, nothing is flowing, so you're good. And always open that valve all the way until it is snug all the way open. If it's not, sometimes these tanks can leak from the actual valve, which in the case of this particular tank, it does. So if you don't open it all the way, it sounds like it's leaking and you can hear it. Shut it off, check it and all that, nothing's leaking. But then you turn it back on. If you open it all the way, check it again, nothing's leaking. So it's good. And that's the reason why the propane is outside in its own box with a vent in the bottom, because propane will drop. So if there is a leak, it'll go out the bottom. Okay, pretty simple. I'll show you the other propane system for the blue house in just a moment. Alright, so this is what we call the blue house, or the tiny, because it is built from scratch, ground up, and the propane on it is even simpler because, well, I never built a box. I just cover it with an old Tupperware. Same thing, 20 pound, 30 pound, 40 pound, whatever kind of tank you want to use. But this is outside thread with a regulator here. The other system, the regulator is built into the heater, so it's not needed. But same principle, it just connects on, turn it all the way on, and it goes inside through the floor, and I'll show you that in just a second. Alright, so this is where it comes in. Basic rubber line comes up to the fitting to a wall heater. Now this one, unlike the buddy heater, This one has a thermostat that you can set. It has the electronic ignition, and it also has the safety shut off that if it gets too little oxygen, it'll shut off. As you can see, I've already got it running because I'm going to heat it up in here and make a little video about this tiny. But that's basically it. If you want it to go colder, just turn it colder and it'll shut itself off down to just a pilot light. And if you shut it all the way off, of course, then, you know. But yeah, basic propane, blue flame, Mr. Heater. This one I think is the 20,000 BTU. So it does a really good job of heating this 180 something square foot house, tiny house. So there you go.